Diplomacy. Basic knowledge of international relation and diplomacy. Meaning of international relations. International relations (IR) is the study of foreign affairs of and relations among nations within the international system, including roles of states, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, multinational corporations, and regional organizations. It is both an academic and public policy field and can be either positive or normative, as it seeks both to analyze as well as formulate the foreign policy of particular states. It is often considered a branch of political science. Contemporary international relation is a study of the world communities and global issues among states. Palmer and Perkins point out that IR is related to not just politics of international community concerning on diplomacy and relations among states and other political units. It means totally totality of the relations among people and groups in the world society. Matheson opines that international relation embraces all kind of relations traversing state boundaries, no matter whether they are of an economic, legal, political, or any other characters, whether they be private or official, and all human behavior originating on one side of a state boundary and affecting human behavior on the other side of the boundary. According to Frankel, the new discipline, i.e., international relation, is more than a combination of the studies of the foreign affairs of the various countries and of international history. It includes all the study of international society as whole of its institutions and processes. It is increasingly concerned not only with the state and their interactions, but also with the wave of transnational politics. In short, international relations concern the relationships among the world's government, a discipline which tries to explain political activities across the state boundaries. International relations are the study of all forms of interaction that exist between members of separate entities or nations within the international system. International relations may be defined as the study of relations among states and other political and economical units in the international system. Particular areas of study within the field of international relations include diplomacy and diplomatic history, international law, international organizations, international finance and economics, and communications, among others. In addition, increased attention has been paid in recent years to developing a more scientific understanding of the international system as a whole. In this, IR is a vast field encompassing the relationship among states in all their dimensions, including interactions with various other political and non-political groups, among with the study of international history, international law, international society, and international political economy. IR has become increasingly interdisciplinary, behavioral, comparative, and scientific in nature. International relation is a multidisciplinary field gathering together the international aspects of politics, economics, geography, history, law, sociology, psychology, physi- philosophy, and cultural studies. It is a meta-discipline. The history of international relations is traced back to the Peace of Westphalia of 1648. Although it is as old as the state itself, it has been developed as a separate discipline in present time. This discipline began after the First World War and grew rapidly after the Second World War. In the post-World War II, the factor that contributed towards its development can be summarized as the fear of total war, technological development, establishment of UN, emergence of new nations after decolonization, concern for peace and new world order, etc. In an ancient world, international relations were incidental, sporadic, and limited in nature, but now they are global and preserve, pervasive. Scientific and technological revolutions of the 19th and the 20th century brought the nations nearer and closer. Development in different fields made international relations more regular, more comprehensive, and more valuable day by day. According to the Article 34(6) of the Interim Constitution of Nepal, 2006, the state in its international relations shall be guided by the objective of enhancing the dignity of nation in the international arena by maintaining the sovereignty, integrity, and independence of the country. Distinction between international politics and international relation. International politics and international relations are the terms often used almost in interchangeably. National interest, conflict, and power are the three things attached to international politics, and so are with international relations. But international relation is a magnified phrase for international politics. Politics concern itself only with the government, political parties, and officials, while relation emphasizes cozy, homely, and warm relation among political, non-political, governmental, non-governmental groups or organizations. International politics is concerned with the politics of international community, focusing on diplomacy and relations among nations and other political units, whereas international relation involves totality of the relations among people and group in the world society. The former describes political relations only, but latter describes all types of relations. International relation is a wider concept, but international politics is a narrower concept. The scope of formal is broader than the latter. Diplomacy. The Oxford Dictionary defines diplomacy as management of international relations by negotiation, the method by which these relations are adjusted and managed by ambassadors and envoys, the business or art of the diplomatist. According to the Chambers 20th Century Dictionary, diplomacy is the art of negotiation, especially of treaties between states, political skills. Sir Ernest Satow, Guide to Diplomacy Practice 1922 defines diplomacy as the application of intelligence and tact to the conduct of official relations between the governments of inde- independent states. Frankel defines diplomacy as the business of communicating between governments. Morgan too refers to diplomacy as the brain of the state power. Harold Nicholson, a great scholar of diplomacy, provides five different meanings of diplomacy. A synonym for foreign policy, negotiation, the machinery by which such negotiation is carried out, a branch of foreign service and a skill in the conduct of international negotiation. However, ultimately he also conceives the above-mentioned definition given by the Oxford English Dictionary. From the above definitions, we conclude that the diplomacy is one of the major instruments or technique of executing foreign policy. Diplomacy is the part and parcel of international relations. It is concerned with the management of relations between states and other actors. From a state's perspectives, it is concerned with advising, shaping, and implementing foreign policy. In the broadest sense, diplomacy is often used to mean both the making and execution of the foreign policy. The prime aim of diplomacy is promotion and protection of vital national interest in its dealing with outside world. Edmund Burke first introduced the term diplomacy in 1796. Diplomacy has been taken from Greek word diploma, which is a state paper and official document by which privilege is conferred. The Greek word diploma means folded document. It came into English use in 1645. Distinction between foreign policy and diplomacy. Although terms diplomacy and foreign policy are used interchangeably, in distinction between the two must be kept in mind. Foreign policy of states is the substance of foreign relations, whereas diplomacy is the process or tool by which the foreign policies of a nation are carried out or implemented for the sake of national interest. Formal is primary responsibility of state government, latter is that of the diplomats officials. The objectives of foreign policy are achieved through diplomacy. Diplomacy is one of the ways in which policies are being implemented day to day throughout the world. Sir Harold Nicholson points out foreign policies are based upon a general conception of national requirements. Diplomacy, on the other hand, is not an end but a means, not a purpose but method. So, the crux of the matter is that diplomacy is the method and foreign policy is the substance, which is executed by the use of diplomatic technique. A British diplomat once remarked, foreign policy is what do you and diplomacy is how you do it. The major differences between foreign policy and diplomacy are foreign policy means broad concept, falls under political domain, ends deals with what aspects of foreign affairs, substance of foreign relations. Ministry of Foreign Affairs has prominent role for it. Diplomacy, narrow concept, falls under bureaucratic domain, means deals with how aspects of foreign affairs, methods of executing foreign policy, diplomatic mission have central role for it. Notwithstanding above distinctions, both are interdependent and contemporary in this complex contemporary world. These two are closely interlinked like two sides of a coin.